The sun was setting behind the distant hills of western Uganda, casting an orange hue over the serene landscape near Lake Albert. It was here, in a small village, surrounded by lush greenery and the hum of life, that the story of two siblings, Ndahura and Kembandwa, began. The year was 1952, a time when the winds of change were sweeping through the continent and colonialism had left its mark on the hearts and minds of many. The tale of Ndahura and Kembandwa is one that would stretch across the decades, a story of love, betrayal, ambition and destruction, a tale of sibling rivalry that would affect not only their own lives but the fate of those closest to them. Ndahura, who was named after the god of smallpox, the elder of the two, was born into a family that struggled to make ends meet. His father, a humble farmer, passed away when Ndahura was still a young boy. He became the head of the household at just 16 years, a responsibility that thrust upon him would positively shape his character for the rest of his life. His mother, a strong woman who had borne many children, relied on him heavily to maintain the small local farm. Ndahura's younger sister, Kembandwa, meaning she was born as a result of prayer to traditional spirits, was 10 when their father died, a child full of energy, curiosity and ambition. Though she appeared to love her brother, there was always something inside her that was unsatisfied, a yearning for more than the life that they had. From an early age, Kembandwa showed early signs of a deep inner conflict. On one hand, she was incredibly intelligent, a quick learner who excelled in school and had an eye for opportunity. On the other hand, she was deeply frustrated by the limitations of her environment. While Ndahura worked tirelessly to provide for the family, cultivating the land, tending animals, and trying to make ends meet, Kembandwa, her mind wandering to faraway places, dreamed of wealth, influence, and recognition. She wanted to be someone who would be remembered. When Ndahura was offered an opportunity to move to Kampala, the capital city, to work as a clerk in the colonial administration, it was a turning point for the family. Ndahura was overjoyed because it was a chance to escape the cycle of poverty that had gripped them for so long. He took his siblings with him, hoping to offer them a new life, to provide opportunities that they would never have imagined in the village. But Kembandwa saw things differently. She viewed the move to Kampala not as a blessing, but as a prison, a way for her brother to control her, to keep her in a life she did not want. In Kampala, Ndahura quickly found his footing. The city, with its bustling streets and colonial buildings, was a world of opportunity for a young man with ambition and integrity. He worked hard at his job in the civil service, diligently serving the colonial government, hoping to benefit his family. But despite his incipient success, his family remained humble. His wife, Nyangoma, whom he had married shortly before leaving the village, was a teacher, and soon she found work at a local school. Together they lived a modest life in a small house in the city. Nyangoma's presence was a constant source of peace for Ndahura. Her gentle spirit, balanced with his steady nature, and their home was filled with laughter and faith. But Kembandwa, now in her late teens, could not understand her brother's contentment. While Ndahura worked diligently, earning a stable income and living a quiet life, Kembandwa wanted more. She resented her brother for keeping her in what she saw as an ordinary life, one that was unremarkable, devoid of excitement or grandeur. It was around this time that she began to harbor serious resentment towards him. She told herself that she was no different from the colonial government, the colonial masters who had oppressed her people. Why should she support him? She felt she did not need him. Kembandwa began to manipulate their younger siblings, telling them that Ndahura was betraying their heritage. He was no better than the colonialists who had come and enslaved their people. She whispered poison into their ears, slowly driving a wedge between them and Ndahura. Some of the younger siblings started to believe her, thinking that Ndahura's work in the colonial administration was dishonorable. They saw him as a traitor, one sold out to the very system that had oppressed their ancestors. Yet it was from his work that he supported the family. The family, once united, was now seriously divided. They did not know that Kembandwa, for years, harbored feelings of envy and jealousy towards Ndahura. But Kembandwa's admission didn't stop there, as she had bigger plans due to her ambition. She began to seek out a famous local witch doctor, Semusambwa Musota, who was known far and wide for his dark powers. Semusambwa was feared by many, but Kembandwa was not afraid. She knew she would need to go beyond the ordinary, and the Rivalry entered the dark realm of witchcraft and sorcery, with her taking the offensive. Semusambwa taught her the ways of dark arts, how to summon spirits, how to cast spells, and how to use charms to control the minds of others. At first it was small things: winning the favor of a wealthy businessman, convincing a potential suitor to marry her, making her way into the circles of Kampala's elite. But as time went on, the sorcery grew darker, more dangerous. Kembandwa's beauty and charm, once natural, now tainted by the powers she had summoned. She became cold, calculating, and ruthless in her pursuit of power. Ndahura, meanwhile, remained focused on his work. His civil service job had provided him with steady advancement, and after independence in 1962, Ndahura found himself in a position of influence. He worked tirelessly for the new government, helping to establish new policies, and his integrity earned him respect, not only from the people he served. He built a life for his family, ensuring that his children had the opportunities he never had. But Kembandwa's hatred for him continued to grow. She wanted to be the one in power, the one who controlled the strings of society, and she began to despise the way Ndahura had quietly, steadily risen to success. His success, in her mind, was a slap in the face, a reminder that she had been left behind, that her ambition had been thwarted by her brother. Kembandwa's personal life, meanwhile, was unraveling. She had been married 3 times, each marriage ending in divorce. The men she married were too weak for her, unable to withstand her domineering nature and narcissist tendencies. She became more isolated, retreating into herself and her magical practices. Her wealth grew, but so did her bitterness. She had everything material she could need, but she felt one thing missing: love. She had burned all bridges with her family, her friends, and her husbands. She was alone, surrounded with the money she had amassed, but with no one to share it with. As the years passed, Ndahura's family continued to thrive. His children, inspired by the love and stability in which they had grown up, excelled in their education and their work. Nyangoma, ever the nurturing soul, continued to teach and support the community, becoming a pillar of strength for Ndahura and their children. But Kembandwa, consumed by jealousy and rage, could not bear to see brother succeed. The divide between the siblings deepened. At last, Kembandwa resorted to her final attempts to destroy her brother. She believed that if she could discredit him, make him appear corrupt, the people would turn against him. She spread lies about him, accusing him of embezzling government funds, of being in cohorts with former colonial powers. She bribed journalists, paid for rumors to be spread, and used her magical influence to turn people against him. But Ndahura's reputation remained intact. His integrity, his unwavering commitment to honesty and service could not be tarnished by her lies. The more she tried to ruin him, the more the people saw her for what she truly was, an envious, bitter woman who could not stand to see anyone succeed. As the years rolled on, Kembandwa's life became a series of failures. She lost most of her wealth as her magical dealings began to backfire on her. Her ventures collapsed, and the people who had once revered her began to turn away. She was no longer the powerful lady she had once been. Her magic, which she had once wielded with such confidence, had turned against her. Her wealth, once so easily gained, slipped through her fingers like sand. Now in her late 30s, a broken woman, she had tried everything to bring her brother down, but in the end it was she who had been destroyed by her own wickedness. One fateful night, as she sat alone in her house, racked with rage and regret, her life came to a violent end. No one knows exactly what happened, whether it was the spirits she had once used turning on her, or whether her own hatred finally consumed her. But Kembandwa died alone, her body found in her empty house, a victim of her own making. Ndahura continued to live a life of peace and success, his legacy one of love, family, and integrity. His children, inspired by the way he had lived, went on to accomplish great things in the new Uganda. And though he mourned the loss of his sister, he knew that her path had been one of her own making. His family, united by love and faith, carried on, their bonds unbroken by the storms of rivalry and hatred. The story of Ndahura and Kembandwa became one that would be told for generations, of a brother and sister who once shared a bond of love, only to see it torn apart by ambition, jealousy, and dark magic. It's a tale of rivalry, yes, but also one of redemption, of the power of family, and the price of hatred. It was a lesson in the end that no matter how one may rise, no matter how hard one may fight, the path of love will always triumph in the end. Thank you for watching.